a greater role, to go after greater opportunity. We want all the different departments within the United States uh, system to understand the full potential and to participate in unlocking the opportunities that come with those potential. That is why in the meeting this morning with the Department of of Commerce, we were able to identify low-hanging fruits. We were able to identify areas that we can immediately target to support the aspirations of Guyana, whilst at the same time open up the opportunities for the U.S. Private sector.
And looking at those opportunities, President Lee, you were mentioning before in your remarks the steps that your government has taken to prepare for and manage the newfound oil resources, and the fact that for you, it will not be a hydrocarbon-based economy, right? And the importance of development across the economy, healthcare, education, ICT, investments in infrastructure. What is your strategy insofar as prioritizing the many investments that are being desired by you and your government as Guyana is entering this next phase of growth?
You know, one of the things about oil and gas and the type of momentum and public positioning that Guyana is receiving is that it creates a lot of expectations locally, because a lot of time the country is positioned in a way that we have already arrived at a position where we are a rich country, which is far from the truth. This is going to take time, and the revenues, the type of revenues that will come in from oil and gas are not immediately available. So what we are doing is that we are approaching development from a multidimensional lens, not focusing everything on infrastructure or focusing everything on the social services. It's finding the balance in terms of the investment, because we have to ensure we grow the country in such a way that the private sector is growing, creating jobs, whilst we create an enabling environment for that growth in the private sector. We are growing the skills depth of the population so that they are prepared for the new economy and the opportunities that will come in the new economy. At the same time, we continue to expand our environmental credentials on climate change and be a leader in ensuring that forest is positioned in its rightful place and that the world values that forest and the biodiversity that comes with it in a payment system that supports the national development. Fourthly, it's about our food security, not only for Guyana, but for the region, investing in agriculture and building out opportunities in which we bring the younger generation to participate in this economic outlay so that they can feel involved, they can feel a part of this transformation that is taking place. Balancing all of that with the investment that is required for the infrastructure, the build out of the country and the type of opportunities that will come, the economic opportunity and the type of growth that the private sector require from the government investment to create the infrastructure that will support that growth and development. Unless we can create the infrastructure to support the growth and development, then we'll be slowing the private sector involvement. Take, for example, the new hotels. For the new hotels to come on stream, it required us to put new roads, opening up new area of urbanization, if you want to put it in that context. So we cannot focus on one sector and say this is our priority and we're going after this. It is considered as a blend of different fruits in a cocktail, okay. And bringing that together to give us a comprehensive and holistic view of development, keeping in mind the human aspirations. Because you cannot go too far away from what the aspirations of the people, but what is the aspirations of the people. And the fundamental aspirations of the people, they want good quality education, good quality healthcare, good quality access to energy at a cheap cost, good quality access to water. So all of these investment has to be made simultaneously in an environment in the last 2 years that has not been helpful. The last 2 years, we had to deal with COVID. We're still dealing with COVID.
All right, here's what's happening now. The propaganda continues, and this is exactly what they are going to do to spread the because absolutely nothing that he's saying there makes sense. It's just a propaganda. He's currently at the Atlantic Council. That's where they're meeting. Let's continue to hear.
Across the region, across the world, of course, in Guyana as well. And you mentioned food security, right? The challenges with high food prices, of course, globally energy prices as well, has real implications writ large. And this has been one of the action items from the Summit of the Americas just last month in Los Angeles, is formation of a working group on food security that Guyana is co-chairing. What do you hope to achieve insofar as bringing greater food security across the Caribbean writ large as part of these efforts in the following, say, months, given the crisis that we're seeing right now on
Well,
food?
in the region itself, we have set ourselves a target of reducing our food import bill by 25% by 2025. So there is a very elaborate action plan as to how we'll achieve this as a region. It requires collective action. It requires restructuring of national budget to reflect this reality that we are going to invest in food production as a priority. It requires investment in a technology. In fertilizer is a huge problem around the world now. Not only the price, but access to fertilizer. So working with the US in this committee allows us to address the multidimensional nature of the problem surrounding food security. It is not only about going to plant food. It is
All right, let's get right into this discussion here. Irfan Ali is currently at Atlantic Council. He's addressing them out there in Washington, D.C., a pack of lies. He spoke about elections, fiasco, and all manner of dotishness. I am not certain whether they have met with the U.S. Secretary of State, and that's up for question at this point in time, whether they have met with the U.S. Secretary of State. Let's get straight into our guy, Tom Anderson. You were on last evening talking about this whole big subject about food security and these manner of things. What's happening here? Go
Well,
ahead.
hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Like I was saying last night, what's coming your way in Guyana is a tragedy. That's the only way I can put it. This is serious business. Make no mistake about it. I've said it for months. Please, like, be frugal. Please put some food aside. Please get ready for a rough ride, okay? Because what's coming is going to be nothing nice. With that said, I'm really happy to see that our government is stepping up to the plate to help the people of Guyana. That's what this is all about today. Make no mistake about it. This is a serious move by our government to bring in Irfan Ali and to bring in Jack Dale at a time when when the world can see that there's corruption going on in the country. What this is about is the United States pushing back against China in the region. It's the United States pushing back against the chaos that's occurring all over the world. And what the chaos is this. As China goes into places like Guyana, they strip the entire country of everything. They chase business away. They put nothing but cheap garbage supplies into everything. So whatever's built, it lasts maybe a year or two and then it's gone. That's a problem for us because what that's creating is total chaos in our own backyard. It's also leading with when you see what's going on with Ukraine, it's going to lead to famine down in these regions because trust me when I tell you, Chinese equipment is not going to work when you need it the most. It's just the truth. So with that said, our country is stepping up to the plate now. And what we're saying is we're no longer going to stand on the side and watch China destroy Guyana. We're not going to let it happen. We are going to step in. We have summoned these guys up to the United States, and we're telling them face to face exactly what they have to do in order to open up Guyana to American business. And with that happening, what we're going to do is flood the zone and get rid of China. That's what's going on here. Now, whether Irfan Ali and Jack Dale want to go along with that, I don't know. But there's a choice that the Guyanese people have now. Choose what the U.S. is offering or continue to go with China, who is going to basically destroy your country. I think that's what's happening right now.
All right, so he's having this discussion as we speak out there at the the Atlantic Council. You have done lots of work out there in Washington, D.C. and other places and so forth. What's happening here now at the Atlantic Council that they would invite him and do an interview, a live interview with him?
Well, you have to understand that American business wants to be in Guyana. Our government, we want access to Guyana. But what's happening right now is China has flooded the zone with Huawei equipment. No one can go down into Guyana right now and do any kind of legitimate business without the Chinese government all over it. So we're now looking at the situation, and our businesses and our business leaders are telling our country and our leaders here, this has to stop. We can no longer go, we can't even do business in the country because China is stealing everything, because they've worked with these governments by giving them, cheap stuff. And on top of that, as we saw with the Vice News report, there's bribery and stuff going on in Guyana, right? So our businesses have now cried enough to the United States government and have said, look, we just can't do it. And it's happening. It's so bad that now we've stepped in and we're now summoning these guys up there to try to open up the door so that we can actually set in some real standards that our businesses can work by in your country. Now, the benefit to Guyana is, instead of having the current situation you have now, which is your country's being plundered, what we're offering is a partnership. Now, some people can say it's not true, we don't believe it, but I'm looking at what China's doing, and I'm telling you, coming from my perspective and just looking at abroad what's happening, it's a lot better bet in our hemisphere to want to go with the United States. With that said, you have to be vigilant with us. Yes, it will not be easy dealing with us, but I can promise you this. It will be a lot harder for our country to plunder and pillage your country and dominate your country, because our politicians have to answer to our people. Chinese politicians don't have to answer to anybody when they plunder a country.
Sorry, Tom, we just saw there that the Atlantic Council, that interview concluded. It was very brief, and it's, as we know, a pack of lies. Those of us who are familiar, and I know you're very much familiar as well, but he sat there for about 20 minutes and lied and lied and lied to the people there. But continue, please. I noticed go ahead, sir.
And he's saying this to the Atlantic Council because the audience he's talking to, these are the policy people. These are the business leaders. These are the people in our country who make the world go round. These are the decision makers who pay attention with the Atlantic Council. So that interview was important because policymakers are watching that interview and they're sizing Irfan Ali up in the interview. That was the whole point of it, right? It's to size him up. Now, it doesn't really matter if what he's saying is the truth or not. These policy people, they don't care because they assume that he's going to say whatever he needs to say to put on the best face, whatever. But at the end of the day, they were sizing him up. And here's why. This is serious business. They are opening the door, and this isn't playtime anymore. Irfan Ali and these guys will actually have to really do their jobs if they're going to work with us. And it looks like they are.
Well, they got to put up a front as well. I am still trying to get word as to whether that meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State actually took place, whether it took place or not. But before we get to that, what is your take on that meeting that they had with earlier they had a meeting with the Deputy U.S. Secretary of Commerce.
Secretary of Commerce, Don Graves.
Don Graves, your take, please.
Okay, so Don Graves, for the audience listening, he started off as an advisor to Biden when Biden was vice president under Obama. He also was an advisor to Biden when he was running for president of the United States, and Biden placed him in his position. So He's a trusted man of the President of the United States, period, end of story. He has an open line to the president whenever he needs to speak to him. So that's who was speaking to Ali and Jagdeo and the representatives of Guyana. So you know that the president now knows what's happening in your country because he's speaking to Don Graves. I can promise you that, number one, which is a big deal, okay? Not everyone has the ear of a president in the realm of being an advisor, and being a counselor. Someone who's counseled a president has a deeper level of communication with the president than someone who works for the president. You see, and he works for the president, but he's been a counselor, so it's deeper, and that means something. That means a lot, actually. So that's number one. But number two, his job looks like, from everything I can tell, is to set some really high standards and to push back hard against China, period, end of story, with the intent and goal to open up U.S. business everywhere. Okay, without our businesses being hacked, without our technology being stolen by China. So it's his job to open up Guyana to America in a way that raises the standards of Guyana. In other words, he's here to say no more corruption. That's it.
Okay.
They're coming hard.
You stick a pin for a minute there, Tom. You're saying because these guys from Guyana, Irfan and the others, they didn't get to meet with the U.S. Secretary of Commerce. They're meeting with the deputy, and there is the deputy sitting there. Next to him, there's U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Sarah Ann Lynch. I thought the guy to the Deputy Secretary of Commerce left. I thought that was Gregory Meeks, but that's not Gregory Meeks there.
No.
You would know him because you have been on his trail for a while now. So describe again that the deputy is a good friend, has been advising President Biden and so forth and so on. And you were talking about the importance of this.
Let me tell you, you shouldn't stress deputy here, because he's a very experienced man, and he holds some power, and he has a lot of influence in our government. So please his title should not matter. First of all, let me just tell you that. Number two, this man, he's an impressive man. This isn't some simple game. The reason why they're having to meet with Don Graves is because Don Graves is for real. He doesn't play games. This is a big deal. I don't know if you understand. You have to understand here. Just because he's deputy, whatever, it doesn't matter. The title doesn't matter.
The reason why I stressed on deputy is because of the deputy's connection to President Biden and so forth and so on. So he may, his role is very important here. I didn't stress on the term deputy as a result of
it. Okay. At the end of the day, this Don Graves, he has a very clear mission, and I'm going to tell you something. He's not to be played with. Okay, he has a clear mission. He's serious about it. There are huge opportunities open for Guyana right now, but those opportunities come with a very high standard. We're not coming into Guyana to dominate, period. I'm telling you, that is not the case. We're trying to open up Guyana to the new world order. In other words, sustainability, being in a place where you can feed your own country. You don't have to import food anymore. Being in a place where corruption isn't ruling the land. Being in a place where there isn't narco terrorists running all over the jungle. That stuff has to go away in order for us to be able to have a partnership with your country. And that's the job of Don Graves. That's his job. That's his mission. And the key in it is really to push back hard against our competitors and our adversaries. And he lists our adversaries as China. So we are pushing back hard right now against China, and we're trying to partner with the people of Guyana. Our businesses want to do business there. This is a serious meeting. I'm telling you, it's pivotal. It's very important. And it's huge news for the people of Guyana. I got to tell you, it doesn't come, like I say, this is a big deal. Irfan Ali and Jagdeo are going to have to hold to super high standards. I'm telling you. And the reason why is because that's the only way our businesses are going to do business in your country. We've already told our government we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's time to push back. And I'm telling you, Irfan Ali heard it. Jagdeo heard it. They're going to come back with some big problems on their hands because we're coming in hard. That's just, you have to understand. That's why they met with Don Graves, because we're coming in hard. You got to understand.
Okay, so far we're hearing that they met. We're seeing this photograph with Don Graves, Deputy U.S. Secretary of Commerce. They have met with. We just saw the Atlantic Council. Are you surprised that they're having these meetings with these individuals? Obviously, it's not something that they plan on their own. They most definitely they have to meet with these individuals if they want serious business in Guyana, or if they want to continue to have serious U.S. support.
Well, here's the deal, right? What the people of Guyana will face if the current trend continues, which is this partnership with China. If this continues and it continues to blossom, then the situation will be that countries in Europe, Canada, the United States, we will start to put export controls on everything. And your country will be starved out. I'm just telling you. All right. China does not have the wherewithal to feed everybody in this region who decides to partner with them. They can't even feed you guys if you decided to partner with them, which has happened. And so that's just the cold reality here, that if Dr. Ali and the PPP decide that they're going to go along with China and go 100% with China and that's it, then there's going to be some rough times for people of Guyana. That's just the truth. You will be shut out. And here's the reason why. Because of what's happening in Ukraine, resources are short on everyone. And so there will be winners and losers chosen as to who's going to get food and who isn't. Some people aren't going to get food. And I'm going to tell you who those people will be. It will be the ones who've partnered with China. All right. So unless these guys can show that China is guaranteeing that they can supply Guyana with whatever they need when the rest of the world turns everything off, I don't know how the future looks. So that's what's happening right now. That though they're being offered a huge carrot, which is open access to U.S. business, but they're also being offered like a huge stick, and the huge stick is Guyana will be shut out from the rest of the world when Guyana needs everything the most.
And you've used the word that they're partners with China. China doesn't have partners. China has puppets.
Yes.
And Jagdeo and Irfan, they are puppets and pawns of the Chinese, and that's a fact. So, anything else you make of this meeting? Because it's something that we're seeing, especially all of the photographs that we've seen with Barra Jagdeo. He's very uncomfortable in almost all of the photographs. Does that take you as surprise?
No, it's look, there's a problem right now in Guyana, okay? The Vice News report exposed it, okay? There's a problem with China. We all know that many countries in the region have a problem with China, okay? That's just a fact. China has moved in and they've just spread out as much money and cheap Chinese junk as they can. And they've been raping and pillaging the Amazon. I mean, these guys have no environmental controls. They don't care about labor standards, nothing. All they want is they want the resources at the cheapest price possible. Okay. And as you saw in the Vice News piece, they're buying off everybody. It's all bribery. It's all corruption. This is what they do. And they're not just doing it in Guyana, they're trying to do it everywhere they go. So this is us saying we're ending it. We're stopping it. We are going to engage. We're no longer going to sit on the side and let China do whatever they want and just rape and pillage the entire region. Nope, we are going to engage. But as we engage, we're setting very high standards. So that's why Jagdeo looks nervous. That's why he doesn't look too happy, because, hey, there are huge benefits here, but those benefits come with him saying no to China. And that's going to be very hard for that man to do.
You know, someone is asking, Sharon Bidolph is asking a question here, very important question. You have touched on it in the past. Sue owns a heck of a lot of lands out in Guyana. And her question is, her comment is, but Sue owns half of Guyana. This is a joke.
Yeah, well, that's why we'll be asking for things like environmental standards to be raised, for environmental laws to be codified through the Guyanese parliament. And those laws and standards will make it so that Sue can no longer own half of Guyana, because there's no way he can own a business there and make a profit if he has to actually adhere to real standards, real labor laws, real environmental laws. He couldn't do it, right? The only reason why he can even run these businesses now is because there are no standards at all for him. He can do whatever he wants. If 1,000 workers die from malaria in the jungle, no one's going to investigate. They're just going to say a bunch of people died. But that's not how we operate in the United States. And so we're saying to the people of Guyana and to the government, you have to set real labor standards. You have to set real environmental standards. And once you set those standards, guess what happens? People like Mr. Sue, they leave because they can no longer make a profit. That's how you get rid of them. It's really simple. That's what's so amazing, right? People don't understand. The only reason why the Sues of the world have what they have is because the government of Guyana lowered the bar so low that they allowed him to crawl over it. Because that's what he's someone who exists in the dirt. And guess what? He just crawled over the bar because the government of Guyana put the bar under the dirt, right? So what we're saying is raise the bar. Once the bar is raised, Mr. Sue has to leave because he can't operate with the bar raised. And that's the point.
Let's hear a quick question here that Irfan answered earlier today.
Food prices, of course, globally, energy prices as well, has real implications writ large. And this has been one of the action items from the Summit of the Americas just last month in Los Angeles, is formation of a working group on food security that Guyana is co-chairing. What do you hope to achieve insofar as bringing greater food security across the Caribbean writ large as part of these efforts in the following, say, months, given the crisis that we're seeing right now on food?
In the region itself, we have set ourselves a target of reducing our food import bill by 25% by 2025. So there is a very elaborate action plan as to how we'll achieve this as a region. It requires collective action. It requires restructuring of national budget to reflect this reality that we are going to invest in food production as a priority. It requires investment in the technology. Fertilizer is a huge problem around the world now. Not only the price, but access to fertilizer. So working with the US in this committee allows us to address the multidimensional nature of the problem surrounding food security. It is not only about going to plant food. It is all the issues in the whole value chain and how the US can support the region in achieving this 25 by 2025. So that is the aim: cost of financing, access to financing, support in terms of technology transfer, hydroponics, high-value crops. All of this is looking at the food production system in a holistic way. A major problem in the region is the transportation. How do we move food, the cost of moving food? So all of this is addressed in a holistic way, and that is what the subcommittee helps us to do.
And one of the things that was announced at the summit last month was a U.S.-Caribbean partnership to address the climate crisis.
You know, Tom, he's not being honest there, because those are the issues in Guyana that are not being addressed. His regime doesn't know how to address these issues. Hence, we have the high cost of living right now. Sugar price has gone up, even in a country that we produce sugar. Sugar price is sky high. People all over the country are not just complaining about sugar, they're complaining about other food items. And there is anything that Irfan Ali has done thus far. There is no plan. I don't know, the Guyanese are not aware of a comprehensive plan that he or his regime has until 2025. All a bunch of lies. But you have been talking about food security for a while on this show. Any surprise of what he said there at that Atlantic Council earlier?
I mean, this is what he's saying, because just so everyone understands, when he's been the meetings he's having with our government, what we're telling him, he's not telling us anything. We're telling him. Let's get that straight. He is telling us some stuff about Guyana in specific, and we have to hear that, right? But as far as him saying that he's gonna, tell us about the whole region, nah, man. We're telling him, and what we're saying is the region is inaccessible to U.S. farmers, to U.S. businesses who want to do farming in Guyana and other countries in the region. And the reason why it's inaccessible is because China's there. Period. When Irfan Ali talks about technology, he threw that in the middle of everything, right? Oh, there's going to be some technology. Well, he's talking about Huawei. Okay. Huawei goes into countries like Guyana. They lay out their little networks, and guess what they do? They steal everything. Everyone's conversations they take. They've got everything. Okay. They've even tried to set up Huawei in Washington, D.C. in a pagoda in order to prevent our ability to launch our nuclear weapons. This is how Huawei is used by the Chinese government. It's used as a weapon. And so anywhere where Huawei is in that region, it's inaccessible to U.S. business. You know why? Because if we go there, they spy on us. They take everything from us. They steal our technology from us, and it's an unfair playing field. So he knows now, Ali knows now that in order for us to do business, China has to go. Huawei has to go. So that's why he's saying we're going to help with technology. Yes, we're going to replace the cheap trash Huawei crap that's in China right now for communications. And we want a real 5G network set up in Guyana. Why? Because our companies use 5G. We use GPS for farming. We do smart stuff with farming. In other words, you heard him say it. Dr. Ali said, oh, we're going to do some smart farming. Yes, that's U.S. companies. That's what we do, right? We're trying to use a small amount of land to produce the most amount of crops with the least amount of fertilizer and water used. That's what we do. We want that to happen in Guyana, but we can only do that if Guyana has a real 5G network set up by a company like AT&T. We can't do that as long as Huawei is there with their cheap garbage, because not only does it not work properly and consistently, but they're stealing all of our information, all of our business information. So any company who tries to go there, they steal everything from them, right? So that's the issue. And that's what's really going on here, just so everyone knows. That's what's going on, and that's what's being told to Dr. Ali. China has to go. End of story. That's it. Period.
All right. Lots and lots of information here about this visit. I don't know what plans that Irfan Ali could have for the entire Caribbean when Guyana is falling to pieces. Guyana is falling apart. Public servants are crying out. All the workers are crying out, but yet he has a plan for 2025. I don't know. I just don't know.
No, he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. But our government can help make a real plan. And our government can help make a real plan for the people of Guyana, not just for the PPP, okay? For the people of Guyana. That's the key. And that's what everyone has to understand. When I say we're coming in hard to expel China and to get rid of cheap Huawei crap in your country. That's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to put into your country 5G networks so that we can actually have real business ventures in Guyana, so that we can actually have real like banking transfers of money, right? Because think about it. If let's say a company wanted to do business in Guyana, American company, we would have to wire transfer sums of money between bank accounts on Huawei systems. In other words, China would find out exactly how much money is in specific bank accounts for all of our corporations. We can't do that. You see what I'm saying? So they have to go. They have to go. Goodbye. That's what Dr. Ali's talking about with the technology. We are offering 5G. Okay. But here's the thing. Will the people of Guyana accept what we're offering? We're trying to offer a partnership. We're trying to offer, hey, we can help you get out from underneath the boot of China with all the cheap crap and the way they treat the country is horribly. We can help you get out from under their boot, but you have to partner with us by raising your standards. Can Dr. Ali do it? I don't know. That's why he was being interviewed by The Atlantic. our policymakers want to know, because at the end of the day, if he can't do it, if he can't get Huawei out of there so that the rest of the world can do business in Guyana, then maybe he's not the man to lead the country.
You know, and people are seeing that every single day, that he is not the man to lead the country. He doesn't have a vision. In fact, he's not a visionary. He's not bright at all. And some people take offense when he's being addressed as Dr. Irfan Ali, because, you know, his academic credentials have been questioned and continue to be questioned, because no one knows where he got his bachelor's degree from. Absolutely no one knows that at all. So all of his academic credentials are questionable at this point in time. Maybe that's why you've never heard me address him as doctor. But besides the point, some people are asking this question, Tom, that in other words, in Guyana, they have a saying, when somebody says good for you, it means that you look for what happened to you. That under the Trump administration, we saw lots of things happen, especially with then U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And a lot of folks are of the view, and maybe rightly so, who knows, that the PPP, knowing how corrupt they were for 23 years, knowing the track record of a Bharat, Jack Deo, and so forth, but yet they assisted, quote unquote, to install this corrupt regime. Now they have to face with these consequences. What's your take on that? That people are saying that it's a Trump administration and Mike Pompeo and these guys that actually installed these corrupt individuals.
Yeah, I mean that's understandable, but from the perspective of U.S. policymakers, from the perspective of U.S. leaders, they really don't care who is responsible for the situation right now. All they care about is how do you fix the problem, and the problem is China. So they couldn't care less what Pompeo was doing before or Trump. They couldn't care less about anything else. All they know is China is a huge problem. The region's about to go into a downswing because of the war in Ukraine and the chain effect of that causing a food shortage in the region. It's going to happen, right? Inflation is going to hurt the economies in the region. These are big problems. They couldn't care less what happened in the previous administration or who put these guys here now. All they know is these guys have to play by the rules we are putting in front. And if they don't, there will be export controls inflicted on your country by countries all over, not just us. It will be Europe and everyone else. And Guyana will be shut down. That's what's happening. I'm just telling you. OK, so if Ali and these guys want to hold on to power and they want to say, no, all we want is China, China, China. I'm just telling you, the world will shut you out with export controls. And if you want to know what bad looks like, that's going to be pretty horrible.
You know what the Chinese may eventually do? They may extend, right after Jack Deo and Irfan, they get back to Guyana, they may extend an invitation for them to have a state visit to China. Would you be surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised.
China will put them on the spot to say, look, wait until they get back to Guyana, then say to Jack Deo and Irfan, the president of China would like to see you.
Well, here's the issue with that. That could be a strategic mistake by the Chinese to even offer them to come, because that would give Irfan Ali and Jack Deo an easy way out of the relationship by just saying, no, we're not going. And what's China going to do? Think about it. They're so like
difficult, Tom. We all know it's difficult for Bharat and Irfan to say no to the Chinese. Difficult.
I know it's difficult, but I got to tell you, that's an easy no to say, hey, we're not coming. You know why? With what China's doing with COVID and all the problems they have, what can they do if they say no? There isn't much they can do. All they can do is sit back and hopefully try to get them back into the good graces or whatever.
Remember the allegations of a hefty bank account by...
I understand that, but I'm just telling you, the Chinese are looking long term, always. And it wouldn't. So I don't know if they're going to offer that to these guys to come out and visit.
So the Americans about to snap to grab Jack Deo and Irfan away from the Chinese and the Russians. And do you honestly believe that the Chinese, with all that they have done and the billions of dollars of contracts and deals and allegations of bribery and corruption level against Jack Day and other officials in the PPP. And obviously, the Chinese got evidence against these guys. Do you think it's so easy to brush the Chinese away like that? And the Chinese are going to sit down and say, okay, you found a new partner now. Let's allow things to be how it is. We'll
Well,
take the backseat. The
well,
Chinese.
no. Here's why it's easy to brush them away. Okay, seriously, I'll tell you why. Because who's the other option for China? They don't have any other option. Who else can they go to to further their interests in Guyana? There isn't anybody else. And so since there's no other option, and the only option in town is the PPP, right? They're going to have no choice but to sort of sit back and try to do what they've been doing, right? Try to basically subvert the process, try to do things where they do. If you notice what China does, they will go in now and they'll do their soft power play. They'll go after people in the opposition party, people in the PNC, and they'll try to expose them as corrupt by having, because remember, they've had Huawei there in Guyana now for a long time. So what will happen is they'll start exposing people, politicians, because they've got video of them or phone conversations of them with women and mistresses or their boyfriends or something. And they'll do all that stuff. They'll expose corruption and stuff. They'll leak information. They'll basically cause total chaos in Guyana to try to bring the entire government down. And in all the chaos, they can continue to rape the country of all of its resources. That's probably going to be their move, rather than to try to go head to head against the United States in a public display. Like, we're going to force Irfan and them to be our buddies. Nah, I think they're just going to destroy the country. Right. And they still get what they want if the country's destroyed. Think about it. Right. Because all they want is to plunder the place. And guess what? Jack Dale and these guys, they'll just oversee a heap of trash. That's fine in their minds. That's where this could go. So there's no easy way out on this. And I think there's going to be a long road ahead for the people of Guyana, especially with these guys in charge, unfortunately.
And it's difficult also, or people should know that Chinese oil company has a stake in ExxonMobil. Exxon plays a big role in all that's happening in Guyana right now, billions and billions of dollars. And in fact, Exxon drilling the oil in Guyana and the expenses and so forth, the Guyanese taxpayers have to pay billions and billions of dollars. Let's not leave ExxonMobil out of this equation at all.
No,
at all.
No, they're going to be a part of the equation going forward for as far as the eyes can see, because their partnership with the country of Guyana is an extensive one, right? So, look, all of these things will work out, and Exxon is going to have their influence, right? And part of their influence right now is trying to open up Guyana to other American business, right? So, and further for their business as well. So that's why they're meeting with Don Graves. Don Graves is the point man in this administration for this type of stuff, for basically laying down the groundwork needed for American business to enter the Guyanese market. And so this is good news for the people of Guyana. I'm telling you, it's much better to partner with the United States than China. I'm just telling you, it's much better. Our standards are higher. And for the people of Guyana, I want to see a country. I would love to see your country in a position where you've got renewable energy, where you're building hydroelectric plants that are not just Chinese, but state of the art, like something that the entire world can look at in amazement. I think you have an opportunity to do so many good things, and Don Graves is the beginning of that door opening. But what it's going to take is for Irfan Ali and Jack Dale to tell China to take a hike. That's just the reality.
All right, taking a hike. Still no word on the visit. Irfan Ali, they were scheduled to meet with Secretary of State Blinken at around 1:30 today. Other heads of states have met with Secretary of State Blinken. President Azerbaijani was there at the State Department. Met with. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, met with the U.S. Secretary of State, but thus far no word at all on this supposed planned meeting at 1:30 with U.S. Secretary of State, whether that took place or not. How important is that meeting, Tom?
Well, from our perspective, from the American perspective, these meetings they're at the top of our administration's agenda because we're dealing with. If you look at the latest announcements, I think the FBI director and the CIA director for our government came out recently and said that China is our number one adversary, that they are spreading out around the world and in this region in a way that's causing massive, massive problems for us. And so this right now, the entire focus is China. It's China, China, China. Going forward, I guess if you want to, and I feel like I need to say this, by the way, because I don't want to sound like I'm saying America is so great, don't worry about us, we're a friend to the end. Guyana has to raise its standards. The government itself, Jagdeo, Dr. Ali, the AFC, the PNC, the PPP, everyone has to get together. The lawmakers have to get together. They have to raise the standards of the country so that not even America can bully you and do things to harm the people of Guyana. The standards have to be raised a lot higher. So no matter how you want to cut it, it's the year 2022, and the future of the people of Guyana will lie in the vision of their leaders and their ability to see past the internal squabbles of the past and put those aside and say, for the country of Guyana, we have to raise our standards to the highest level. And by doing that, we ensure the future of our people and our security. I think that's the key. And if that's done, and I believe this administration is offering that partially to Guyana. We can't do it all. We can do some. That's what's being offered now. Okay, that's what's being offered. It's something that it's a much better offer than what Guyana has received in the past. And I've looked at this situation for a very long time. This is the first time where I can say that the U.S. government is truly engaging with the people of Guyana to truly open up Guyana's potential. Seriously, this is the first time I've seen it. This is a huge opportunity, but it comes with, like I said, much higher standards. And that should be the focus of everyone listening right now, is to look at yourselves, look at everyone around you, and realize the door is now open, but the standards have to be raised higher than anyone's ever seen them before. That's the key. If that's done, then Guyana has a beautiful future ahead of it, in my opinion.
All right, let's before we wrap up, let's go quickly and hear what the question is about this guy here.
Initiative where we specifically work to bring together the public and private sector and have done work everywhere from financial inclusion to climate vulnerability to our newly forming energy working group and a whole host of issues to advance U.S. Caribbean interests and partnership. I want to again thank you for joining us today. Wish you much luck and success in the rest of your trip here to Washington, and look forward to welcoming you back to the Atlantic Council, or even better, visiting you in Guyana at some point in the future.
Thank you very much. And of course, we would like to welcome you to Guyana. We have already, in just the first day here in the U.S., we have been hearing about many trade delegations, private sector delegations that are planning to be in Guyana. We encourage this. We want to see collaboration between the U.S. private sector and the Guyanese private sector.
So, Tom, you're hearing it. You're hearing it now. Suddenly, this robust, this approach, this energy now. America businesses, we want you guys now. Come on. Right after the whole allegations of corruption and bribery that included allegations that involved Barrett Jagdeo and so forth, you heard Irfan Ali there to the American. Come on, we need everything. The private sector, everyone. Come on. We're open for business. In closing, your take on that, please.
So, look, that's great. What Dr. Ali is saying is great. Okay, that's what is needed. But I'm telling you right now, the reason why you saw him with Undersecretary Don Graves, Secretary of the Department of Commerce, is because it's Don Graves' job to tell them, hey, we'll bring the businesses, but you've got to get rid of China. Okay, and you have to get rid of the Huawei crap that your country is using right now for communications, period, end of story. And on top of that, you have to raise your standards. on labor laws. You have to raise your standards on environmental laws. You have to raise your standards on laws dealing with corruption. All these things have to be up to par in order for Guyana to get the business that we're trying to offer. It's really that simple.
Simple indeed. Tom Anderson, as usual. Thank you all. I'm still awaiting some photograph or so at that 1:30 visit at the State Department. 1:30. That visit was scheduled for 1:30. No photographs, nothing as yet. And I want to see whether that meeting took place, whether Barrett Jack there was actually there or not, and or whether that meeting with Blinken was actually canceled. I don't know as yet, but maybe I'll try to check with one of my sources there, or maybe
Mark, really quick.
Yeah.
I hope they meet with the Secretary of State. It would be very beneficial for the people of Guyana for that to happen. I'm just saying, from the perspective of an outsider, this is a great opportunity for your country. It's a great opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. So take advantage of it. And the way you take advantage of it is you hold your government accountable right now. And you have to tell them, we need higher labor standards. We need all these laws in place. They have to be done. This isn't hard to do. It's called legislation. It has to go in.
We have been dealing with
It's
Guyana
different,
for
Mark.
years.
No, but this is different, Mark. I'm telling you, it's different.
These guys, it's difficult for them to do what is right. It's difficult for them to do things that are democratic, things that are transparent.
Mark,
This is all good. For some reason, I'm just not going to. I don't have confidence in these guys, Irfan Ali or Jack. I just don't.
Put it this way.
Yeah.
I know this, that when given leadership, they follow pretty well. So China's been leading them, and they followed the Chinese leadership pretty well. Okay. All I'm saying now is there's some new leadership in town that's being offered to them. Give them a chance, man. That's what I say. Give them a chance to follow some new leadership.
They're not going to follow. They are petty hustlers.
It's fine if they don't, but here's what I'm saying to you, Mark. It's to the benefit of the people of Guyana and for yourself that you give them the chance. And this is why I say that. This is why this is the time to give them the chance. They don't have forever to make their choice. They have to make that choice like yesterday. There isn't much time. So what I'm saying is you don't have to give them a chance for that long. You just have to give them a chance for a couple of months, okay? No. And if after 1 or 2 months you don't see anything, then you can start saying. But that's what I would say to you.
With all due respect, man, I know you've been around. I know you have you love Guyana. I know you've been talking for years. I know you have done your investigations in lots of areas, and you know who is who, so to speak. These people, when they are in the United States of America, they talk a different language. But when they return to Guyana, they're bullies. They continue to persecute people. They continue to violate people's rights. They continue to trample on the Constitution. They continue to disrespect democracy, freedom of assembly, and all these manner of things. Look at what happens in the Parliament. Look at what happened in the judiciary. For months now, we've been hearing that there will be confirmation of the acting chancellor and the acting chief justice. Nothing at all. Look at what they've done to the Police Service Commission. Look at what they've done to the appointment of the acting commissioner of police. Look at the things that they do, Tom. But yet you want us to have confidence in these people?
You know why? No, I'm not saying I'm confident in them. I'm not saying that. This is what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is step out of the way of the fight here, okay? They are in between our government and the Chinese government. That's who they're between. Allow them to do whatever they're going to do between the two governments. Don't confuse the situation. Don't get involved. Sit back and just watch what happens. I promise you, you will see things happen. I promise you, it's going to happen one way or the other. I'm telling you.
The last time when you and I were often in contact, and we sit back, we watch things happen, and you know what happened? 3 innocent persons were slaughtered in Linden. Protesters were beaten, pellet bullets. We sit back and we allow these people to get their way. Or in Boston, was murdered by members of the Guyana Police Force. Special squad went into his home, murdered him in front of his wife. We are hearing now about special branch operatives went into on the east coast of Demerara and murdered Quindon Bacchus and all these different things, Tom.
I know what
I
I'm. This,
understand,
this
I
okay,
understand
Mark. Here's
where you're
okay.
coming from. These guys
No,
don't have a track
no,
record at all.
that's fine. But here's what I'm telling you, okay? And this is why you have to give them a chance. I'm telling you why. It's really simple. If you don't give them a chance, if you don't, they will use that as the excuse for why nothing's getting done. And then we get into the tit for tat. And guess what happens? Our government has to sit there and listen to you, argue with their finale, and back and forth, and nothing gets done for the people of Guyana. So what I'm trying to explain to you is, do not allow the situation to get confused. Do not allow them to say, oh, we're trying to implement these measures, but these guys, they don't want to work with us. They're just stubborn. They want to blah, blah, blah. They're socialists. They're communists. That's what they're going to say, okay? I promise you right now, Dr. Irfan Ali is saying, Mark Benschop, if your name comes up, he's going to say, you're a communist. You're a socialist. He's going to say, you're against America. You're against free markets. You're a racist or something. That's what he's going to say, okay? And what I'm telling you is, do not allow yourself or anyone else to be used as a pawn, as an excuse for them to say, oh, we're being blocked at every turn by these guys. We're trying to do the right thing. They don't want to let us do it. They want to stop us. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying a long time. Give them a month or two. Seriously, try to work with these guys. Try, because what's going to be coming out of this meeting is stuff that our government is asking for specifically. This is what we want to see, so that our business can come into Guyana. If anyone blocks that, how is that helping the people of Guyana? Don't block it. Try to make it work. I promise you. And I believe what you will see is many problems in Guyana go away once the door is open to American business, in my opinion.
But I understand, and nobody cares what Irfan Ali says. The people already know Irfan Ali and Jack Deere and so forth.
We know that.
The problem with Guyana is not like the economic problems and these things that the people want to go away. And Tom, we can go on, and I know you will call me right after the show. The problem is the installed regime that we have right there now. The problem is Irfan Ali. They have no vision. They can't govern a country. They don't know what's going to happen. And I hope to God that you are correct, that we can see changes. We all want the changes, yes, for the betterment of all Guyana and the mutual sort of relationship and respect between Guyana and America. Everybody has got to be happy at somewhere, but I'm just not optimistic that Irfan Ali and Jack Deere are the people to do that. It's just not going to happen at all.
Well, they may be, well, I know, but here's the thing, right? And here's the key. They may not be the people to do that, okay? They may not be. But at the end of the day, the people who are to be those people, they have to at some point try to get on board and make this happen. And right now, the only way to do that is to do it through however the U.S. government is doing it. And
you know how people would want to see things happen? If there's a reversal of the persecution of individuals. Scores of people have been charged, trumped up charges, and all
that's
these
what I'm
different
saying.
things are being persecuted.
That's what I'm saying.
Members of parliament have been kicked out for no apparent reason. There's got to be some sort
That's
of...
my point, Mark. What I'm saying is give them a chance. Over the next month or two, I think you're going to see these things happen. That's what I'm saying. What you're saying is no matter what they do, if they do some good things, no, let's just say it's still bad. I'm telling you, if there's some good things that come after they get back and they start to you start to see a change in them, you should be happy with that. Don't criticize that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? When they, I got you, Tom. When they return to Guyana, you know what? The good thing I want to hear that Jack Deere steps aside, he resigns so that there can be an investigation in what Sue alleged in terms of bribery and corruption and so forth. And these things cannot be shoved under the rug like that. You have been investigating corrupt politicians for many years. You want to see the best for America, and we all want to see the best, whether for America or Guyana. Certain things we just can't shove aside at all and think that it's business as usual. These guys have caused tremendous harm to Guyana.
But Mark, that's what Undersecretary of Commerce Don Graves, or Deputy Secretary of Commerce Don Graves, is there for, right? He's there to say, no more China. That's the point, right?
Tom, we will talk, but I understand where you're coming from. We will not talk about what we're discussing. But the point is, you're well aware of Guyana. You know these guys inside out. I see where you're coming from in terms of give them a week, give them a month. But knowing how these guys are, Tom, I lived under them, man. I lived under
but
them.
Mark,
I was
the
I
world
was
is at war.
persecuted by
No,
them. I know it is
no.
difficult to swallow this pill. It is difficult to swallow.
Mark,
I'm not going to swallow this pill, Tom.
I know it is, but Mark, I'm
I'm not
telling
going
you,
to swallow.
you know what this is all about right now, and everyone should know this. And I was saying this earlier. This is about our children and our grandchildren and their future, right? Like anything we do right now, we're already at the age where we might see some benefit from it, but not much, right? The great benefit that can be produced from what we do now, that will be for our kids and for our grandkids, man. And that's what this is about. Okay, I got to tell you, you have to have a longer vision.
Tom, we've got to go, man. I got you.
All right, man.
I want to play a song. And I don't know if you know this here, but we got to play this song because these people are getting no chances in terms of the way they govern things. They persecute too many people. Too many people. Now, it's fair enough to say if they want to reverse these things, they need to apologize to the people that they've persecuted and all these different things. Just like what happened with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa. But they can't just spend a day or 2 days in the US and go back to Guyana. And people must say, oh, let us sit back and allow them to do. Oh, no, it's just.
No. I think, Mark, I think that the time is now to make the demands of them. That's why I say give them a chance. What I'm saying is make the demands.
Tom,
make the demands.
Let's go. With this song, let me know. You know about Polari, right? You heard about Polari?
Yeah.
This is for them. Let's go. I'll play this for them. If you want me to give them a chance, maybe I'll play this for them.
Yeah, you already know what I want. Let me go. Give me Polari, I want Polari. Yeah. Give me Polari.
Tom Anderson, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Take care, everybody. It's good.
All the best. All right, Tom Anderson there. Always good to have a healthy discussion with Tom. I've known Tom for many, many years, and I know he cares a lot about Guyana. He has done a lot of investigations in different areas. Tom is Tom. Tom will always be Tom. And I'm not buying that and swallowing that pill from Tom. These guys have been reckless. Irfan Ali and Jack Deere, they've been reckless. They've been brutal to Guyanese. They have persecuted so many people. And it's difficult to swallow that pill. Now, people can change, don't get me wrong, but we're not seeing the changes at all. Every day they discriminate against people, especially folks of African descent. Every single day we see it. Every single day we see it. The evidence is there. And those who feel it knows it. Those who are there on the ground know how these guys govern. These guys are heartless, they're ruthless, they're brutal, and they don't have Guyana's interest at heart. The only reason they're sucking up now to the US, so to speak, and we're going to do this, we're open for business, is because they've been caught with their goddamn pants down. And they want to find a way to wiggle out of it and to say, they're being pro-American now. But when they go back to Guyana, it's a different story all over again. Watch what the Chinese is going to do. Watch what they are going to do. Expect to hear that Jack Deere and Irfan or Jack Deere will be heading to China. Just watch out. It is not going to end like this at all. And at the end, the Americans will see exactly what we have been saying on this show, that Jack Deere and Irfan Ali are not to be trusted, not even for one day. Over in the US, Irfan Ali still continues to talk about rigged elections in 2020. Isn't it the same Irfan Ali and his administration that are running away from an elections petition? They don't want the elections petitions to be heard. So if they are going around the world telling people about rigged elections, in equal measures, they must also say to the very people that they are the ones who are preventing the elections petitions from being heard. That's a fact. So who then rigged the elections? If they are preventing the elections petitions from being heard, the PPP that is, then they have no right or no moral authority to go around the world and talk about rigged elections when they are preventing the elections petitions from being heard so that all of us can get to see who really rigged the elections. But the fact that the PPP is running away from the elections petitions being heard can be interpreted as the PPP being the culprit, being the guilty partner as it pertains to rigged elections in 2022. We're not fools. Almost all of us on this show right now didn't attend the University of IFLAT. We are not fools. See you guys later this evening. God bless you. Until then, so long.
Source.
Okay, well,
Maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you, or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jerome?
So my relationship, nothing. He's a tenant in my place. Yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes. Yes. He is a friend of ours. His father was here from many years ago.
I mean, he lives next door to you.
Yes.
You know, he was able to arrange meetings and catch-ups with you at any point in the day. He claims
As a friend, yeah.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, that he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't know
and
if
he's
that's.
able to change laws for investors.
But then which law has been changed for any investor?
So Sue told us that if you want to get anything done in Ghana, you need some hookups. I'm very close with the Vice President and the other officials. The Vice President and I share a very close relationship. Also, if we do the business, he'll help out no matter what. There's no one else who can help like he does. He also says when he's talking about prospect investors that the Vice President said he can change the Constitution, he said he can manage. Everything is going to be done soon. He's really treating us as brothers. He's already trying to help us as much as possible. Of course, I need to give back to him in return.
Yeah, but that is, I don't know about giving back, but I do that to everybody who comes to my office.
Pressure boss pipe. Pressure boss pipe, boy. Umaninja Guyana de underwater. Oh, the wrong. Sorry. Umaninja Guyana de under pressure. Walk. Bangamere is $400 pong. South $400 pong.
Right about now, living in Guyana right about now, like I am in Guyana no more. I think I will go and get me visa and I go fly out and I go to Burmese and I go relax me because I
making the short video for send to you and the viewers and listeners. I'll know we punishing in Guyana. Punishing. Rice gone up, sugar gone up, flour gone up, cost of living just gone up, gas gone up from 3,400 to 3,800. Real hungry days under this installed PPP government. Real hungry days we gone back to. Guyanese? Oh! Real hungry days, real hungry days.